Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the Craft of the Draft channel. Today we're going to be doing a position audit about tall defenders. So we're going to be looking at the following players. These are the ones we see as the most draftable in the 2024 AFL Draft crop. Alex Turo, Luke Trainer, Matt Whitlock, James Barrett, Harry O Farrell, Noah Mraz, Adrian Cole, Lenny Hoffman and Joel Cochran. So it's a mix of your key defenders and your intercepting type defenders. And we've got the following skills that we're going to be critiquing. Their one-on-one ability, marking, speed, strength, read of the play, athleticism, ball use and decision-making. And we'll start with Alex Turo, who's probably viewed as the player who will go the highest on the night. He's someone whose marking is probably the best in the entire draft class. He's very good one-on-one as well, and his athleticism is raw and untapped. I think the couple of areas maybe to mark him down are his ball use. While it's solid, it's certainly not a weapon, and his strength, although he does develop into a player, or certainly looks as though he will be a player whose strength will come in the years to come. Yeah,
his athletic capacity is terrific. His ability to crash packs and take those type of marks and really halt transition incomplete. Like, he makes it really hard for midfielders on the opposition to make decisions going inside 50, because you have to take into account the job he's going to do and try and intercept you and take those contested marks. I agree with the ball use, decision making does need to improve. The kicking at times, the hard work he can do can unravel because of that decision he'll make the next, and it will turn it over. But it's still a lot of time to develop, considering he came from pretty much being not even in discussions at the start of the year. So, he's done a lot of good work to get to where he is now. Luke Trainer, the next one. I think out of everyone on this list, you want the ball in his hands. It's a massive point of difference that he's got the ability to set the game up as a tall defender. So ball use and decision making, big ticks, 5 out of 5 for me. And then his marking is very good as well. He's quite reasonable one-on-one. The areas that are a little bit lower are probably the athleticism and the speed, but just how well he reads the play probably means it's something that doesn't hinder his performance. Well, he's what I liked about him is his performance at senior level. So I should say against senior performance for the AFL Academy was the best out of any of those defenders. Translated so well, and his ball use is terrific. To start offensive plays out of the back line that well, I think he's got to be up there with one of the best, and he was in that top 5 discussion to start the year as well. So I think he ticks a lot of those boxes quite well in terms of the ball use, decision making. You've got a really reliable defender on your hands. Matt Whitlock, the next one we'll talk about, he's really balanced in lots of different areas. I think he will develop into the sort of player that will take contested marks quite well at the next level, and his one-on-one ability is really good. His reach when he reaches for the footy is quite good, and although that frame, like we talked about with Jack in a separate video, isn't there yet, you can see he will become quite strong. The argument with Matt is that you could see him as a forward type because he's played there so often this year, but he has played a lockdown role really well, and that versatility, being able to understand defensive and forward craft, makes him a very dangerous asset there. I mean, his one-on-one has been great. Same with the marking. The criticism I have with him and his brother Jack is, I guess, just being clinical at ground level and being able to impact when the ball goes to ground, which I think we saw a bit of at Vic Country, especially that Allies game, Rinza-Bell, where they were really good at ground level and able to show a bit of speed and a bit of pace with their running as well to impact inside forward 50. But in the back line, I think his ability to read play, to set himself up well and bring the ball to ground is the biggest asset of Matt. The next 6 are really hard to separate: Harry O Farrell, Noel Mraz, Adrian Cole, Lenny Hoffman, Joel Cochran and James Barrett. But we'll start with Noah Mraz, who we haven't seen as much of this year. The only couple of areas where I sort of marked him down a little bit was just on decision making and ball use. I don't think they're weaknesses, but I think the other areas are so strong that they ended up just being a little bit weaker. Naturally, strength, when he last played, it was probably an area of improvement, but he's put on so much size, which we, having seen him a couple of times since, is really clear, and his read of the play is absolutely exceptional, which allows him to take some big marks. Yeah, his mobility is good, where he's able to get from side to side and move himself well to intercept and impact in that way. So whilst we didn't get to see a lot of him, I still think there's quite a lot of upside with him that's quite untapped at this point of year with the injury.
Adrian Cole is the next one we'll talk about. His one-on-one ability, his athleticism, ability to get up the ground are all real strengths of his. I guess the biggest question mark is over his kicking and whether you can really trust him in the back line to take those kicks and whether he developed that enough this year. It was obviously an area of concern coming into the year. That's the biggest critique I've got of his, but certainly in terms of locking down, there's few that are better.
Yeah, you're right. I think the good thing with that type of role, there's still a lot of time for development. I don't think he's one that would go straight into an AFL team straight away anyway. So there's still a bit of time to develop that kicking, and I agree that it is probably a deficiency of his game. But where I think he's an outlier to the others is the speed that he produces at ground level. He's really quick to impact when the ball goes to ground, and if he does lose a bit of separation from his opponent, he can make it up really quickly. So he understands how to balance his game quite well. And he's, I mean, what I like about him as well, which is not really footy related, but he just doesn't put his head down. He's just one of those defenders who keeps going. He might concede 2 goals in 5 minutes, but then he won't concede for another 30 minutes. So I think that's what I like about him as well. Just this consistency and ability to keep, pick himself up, go again. Very well summed up. Lenny Hoffman is the next one that we'll discuss, the fellow St Kilda NGA prospect, and he had a very good grand final. For him, he's more of that intercepting defender. His read of the play and athleticism allows him to take those intercept marks, and that aerial ability is really strong as well, as is his speed. He's a raw player, and he's really well built in terms of being that athletic and nimble player, but he's still got a lot of strength and size to put on. I really like the way he projects despite that rawness. Yeah, 100%. And the ball use he can produce, he's mobile, he moves really well across the ground, like almost plays like a smaller type defender the way he moves, which I think is really good, but can play one-on-one well. So, yeah, really raw, but has a lot left to go in him.
James Barrett, the next one, his one-on-one ability in his contest is quite strong. He's a strong player. He's a strong kid, and we've seen that throughout the Talent League and even when he played for Essendon VFL. His athleticism, not as strong as some others, but it isn't as weak as some would have you believe it is. And his ball use and decision-making appears worse than it is. If you watch him, he does have those moments where he can kick it out on the full, but his overall disposal efficiency is actually still quite strong. It's just that when he misses his targets, it's quite glaring. Yeah,
well, the thing about him, he's quite an efficient player that just didn't... I mean, you look at his start of the year when he played up forward, he had about what? How many games would he have? About 8 scoring shots. It just would turn into 3-6 or 4-5 and things like that would look negative, but he's a player that understands how to get his hands on the footy. You look at a few others in this category that have to have things go their way and really get themselves in good position, but he can make his own things happen and make plays happen for himself. So he's probably a bit smaller than a few others in this category, but I still think he plays above his height well as well. So he's got some good versatility. Yeah,
probably that third tall type at the next level. O Farrell, I think he's a real sleeper of this draft when I came to do this exercise, and it's probably not one I've thought of before, but he's had some injury interruptions and he plays school footy as well, so we haven't seen a heap of him at Talent League level, but his one-on-one ability is pretty good. Tactically, he understands how to beat his opponent quite well, I feel like, and he can take those marks as well, so he reads the play quite nicely, and he's got that athletic base to him as well. So he's one that'll end up going a bit lower, I think, out of everyone on this list. But I think the club that gets him, they're going to have a player that's got the tools to develop.
Oh, 100%. And even his ground ball ability, he's really clean and he reads the play ahead of him really well. So when the ball does go to ground, he understands where to make his next move. And injury definitely has probably put him down the ranks, but I do think he's a top 20 player. When, everyone does their redrafts in 5 years, he probably turns out, whether his defenders will take a little while, but I still think he's really productive for what he's worth, and you're getting a really solid player out of him wherever he does end up.
And then Joel Cochran, the next one, he went really well at the combine. His durability, that 2K time trial really stood out, and he's got a good athletic base as well, and he's quite proficient above his head.
Yeah, well, the kick-in's probably the knock on him at the moment, but I still think he's quite mobile, a bit smaller than the others in this category. I think he's at 193, so he does move quite well for his height and plays well, plays that lockdown role well, moves forward quite well as well. So his transitional work is quite good for the role he plays, and the Swans will most likely you'd think take him as one of their academy picks.
Certainly. Now, very well summed up. Thanks for tuning in to the Key Defenders Player Audit. That's all we've got time for today. Make sure you check out our other position audits on our channel and other content on YouTube and Instagram.